Super Meat Boy was a phenomenal hit when it came out. It sold millions of copies over time and became a face synonymous with indie gaming as a whole. Emma McMillan said multiple times it was the worst and most stressful game design process of his life, and his next project, The Binding of Isaac, was a slapping reminder that Edman was still a small developer that can always make small, silly, and even controversial games for fun. Fast forward an entire decade, and on June 8th, Edmund McMillan announces his new platformer, The End is Nigh. Funny thing is, a piece of the soundtrack was actually teased on Ed's YouTube channel for a month or so before this reveal, and somehow not many people seem to understood that this was the secret game Ed has alluded to in the past's actual title right before them. There was also a bit of an ARG in it somehow, but nothing too monumental. Now, if you were to try and look around the internet after this announcement, you'll only find about 5 or so big gaming websites discussing the reveal, but the way this really spread out and where I heard about this the most was actually in the communities regarding Edmund's past games, obviously and most notably Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac. While Isaac is a permanent procedurally generated game, people can discuss forever, and that's how the community of that game is still very active because it kinda never ends. But Meat Boy is actually not very much a game with an active community following, especially 10 years after launch. But where the few that do care hanged out, this piece of news was incredible. The Meat Boy speedrunning community, and specifically the Discord server. It wasn't even the week after the reveal of the game's title and bits of gameplay, and the Meat Boy community already decided to organize a blind race for fun, trying to reach the end credits of the game, wherever they are, as fast as possible from the moment the game launches on Steam. Sadly, my computer crashed as I tried booting up the game. She was looking kind of dumb with a finger on the shape of a nail on a forehead. Oh, if you don't go, you never shine if you don't glow. And so I continued to swear mercilessly at my computer and eventually played for myself like a normal person with a bit of a fast mindset. But, now that I think about it, my End is Nigh experience started much like Ash's. Go figure. The race was super interesting. People actually managed to finish the entire game in less than 5 hours, seeing almost no gameplay of most of it before, and never trying the controls before the actual race. But that was obviously just a joke, a meme race, if you will. Tyler, another developer of the game, set a very appealing scene for the game even before it came out, with this tweet claiming that this game was perfect for speedrunners, as they designed every single enemy and obstacle with some sort of fully predictable and hard-coded pattern or logic, meaning no more Larry Jr. RNG timers that can just take tens on tens of seconds from a winning Meat Boy run. In just 4 days, the record for any percent was brought to under 1 hour. But the runner never went back to the game, seeing his 58-minute run is still his lowest time on the game. Right now, it's under 40 minutes. And I don't want to dwell on this subject too much, since it's not the focus of the video. I'll come back to speedrunning in a second, but while this happened, the happy few that did need a place to talk about the game before it's released decided to make not only a subreddit about the game, where it was mostly art, questions, and news, like, standard, but also a Discord server. This server had about 10 or 20 active people popping in and out before launch, with me being one of them, discussing the game at times and other stuff. And the sooner launch came by, the more people came in. The community for the game was already storming with people from all communities, from all Edmund games. It was awesome for me personally, as someone who's in most of the communities, to see all these people in one place. And launch day was such a good time. Everyone was sharing their rage and secrets in dedicated spoilers and secrets channel that we all muted yet always peeked, just for fun. Before anyone beat the game and have yet to see the enemy names, I remember, we just gave enemies names. My favorite was like Bird Sack, for the bird that looked like a ball sack. What fondle memories. Okay, so back to speedrunning. The reason I brought up speedrunning in the first place is because while us runners had fun organizing the initial race, we only did it on the off-topic channel of the Meat Boy Discord, and once the game came out and more speedrunners would have undoubtedly started showing up, we needed a better place. Because we couldn't know in advance how many people would even join a dedicated server, we didn't make a dedicated server just for speedrunning like Meat Boy has. So we asked the administrator of the r/the Nigh Discord, Apex, to make a dedicated speedrun channel. It was public to everyone in the community, and all you needed to do was just ask the server bot to mark you yellow in order to be considered a speedrunner. This removed an everlasting gap in any game, think about it, between players and speedrunners. Because of the game's fast nature and the strong, learning long distance motion, it's not exactly a learning curve, but it's more of like, if you want to reset a save file, you'd probably do really good if you were already good at the game. All those drew many people into speedrunning the game when they want, and they didn't have to feel like a filthy casual jumping into the big league or anything. It's just people that you talk to normally on all other channels, but now faster. This made the community be more lively for the long run, so when initial hype for the game dies, strategies about the game and stuff like that will keep players coming into the server and talking a bit more, and that really kept the server going. A similar scenario started once again once Tyler released modding tools for the community, not using the Steam Workshop because he was afraid of a toxic and crap-riddled workshop, which is fair, but for true dedicated modders, and just like speedrunning, all you need is to ask nicely from the friendly robot and you can be a modder like the rest of the best of them. There's no separate server. In fact, in order to let everyone in the community know of any mod launch they should check out, there's a normal modding news channel, just normalized, like announcement. So whenever someone wants to play something new in the game, they can hop into the community chat room along with speedrunners, casuals, and modders and download the latest of the community. It normalizes mods and makes them a bit less of a weird thing, a bit less of an outcasted option. And actually, races of certain mods were also done, and modders sometimes even ask speedrunners to test their levels to see if they're even any good. Some mechanics discovered by speedrunning, such as high jumps from water, became main concepts in some mods, something that might not always be possible when modding other games. But a cult classic isn't all upsides and fun times for the community. This game was received in the loving arms of Edmund's longtime fans, but the rest of the world saw this at PAX and heard the Edmund name, and after no time the game was just titled a Meat Boy successor, a wannabe Meat Boy, a slower version of Super Meat Boy. And the big names in the reviewing industry didn't even touch it, and besides, it made little to no waves online when it came out, away from channels that were known for being related to other Edmund games on Twitch and YouTube, such as Norvaline and Bear Taffy, who were associated with stuff like Meat Boy and Isaac in the past. But unlike Meat Boy, which is pretty much a must-play game for anyone who likes either platformers or indie games, this one was barely played and streamed for the general public, in comparison at least. There's no actual, deep explanation for this part besides the obvious. This game didn't have a span of more than a year to raise hype like Meat Boy did. It had about 2 months, and it wasn't even marketed too greatly at launch. The game still did well, according to Macmillan, but yeah, it is sad for me as a huge fan of the game to know not enough people played it. But isn't that the nature of cult classics? Only those who love the thing keep loving it, and that's kind of how it works. And from that, I think it's kind of a wrap. The Discord is still very populated and alive. Mods and strats are being made along with the people just finishing up their own 152% save files. And if you enjoyed the game but never got to experience the community aspect, a permalink should be down in the description, but if it isn't working for any reason, just use the subreddit's link. I also recommend playing mods of the game if you haven't yet. People are coming up with not only creative levels, but visually stunning mods, man. Hopefully you enjoyed this little analysis. It was really fun to make. Yeah, I was Boogs. Love you. Bye.